Busy week, so I'll cut him some slack.
Dennis Dodd, CBS Sports, joins us. He's been with us about 2 or 3, 4 weeks ago with a lot of things going on, and we have him for a quick hit. Dennis, as always, thanks for your time. They're meeting tomorrow in Dallas to try to iron some things out with the college football playoff. We heard in the news Friday, and you were all over that. What do you think might be the biggest sticking point going forward?
Gosh, there's so many. Start with 24-25, but that's 2.5 years away, and the logistics are really going to be hard. Not saying it can't happen, but the most likely early start is 25. The contract expires in 26. When it will, whether or not this thing starts, whenever it starts, it'll go to market to multiple bidders. So I think that's going to be the challenge. I mean, you're talking about planning around NFL playoff dates. It now includes 17 games in the regular season. Wild card games are going to be played over 3 days in January. A key decision, I think, is, traditionally the championship game that the CFP is played on Monday night. That's gotten kind of stale, at least to me and people I talk to. What about playing it on, the bye week before the Super Bowl, either on that Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern or maybe that Saturday, to make it as close to the Super Bowl as possible? I think there's a lot of thinking that they really want to hype this thing and make this the second biggest sporting event in the country.
Dennis, what do you expect to be the sticking points when it comes to paying athletes for this? Because, again, it's something they now have to do, because if they don't, then they're going to get sued and lose again. So how do you think they'll work that out?
At least you mean in regards to the playoffs?
Yes.
Yeah, I think, they could get there by maybe just giving them what would amount to an appearance fee. I gamed it out, and I'm talking about all the playoff participants, and I gamed it out earlier this year. I came up with give each of them $32,000 for an appearance fee. Everybody's each. That comes to about $350 million, about 30% of the pie. That's a big piece of the pie. But that also keeps you from fighting them in court, and it divorces you from what may happen in the NCAA as far as revenue sharing, unionizing, and everything else. Is that worth the aggravation? I don't know if it'd be 30%, but I think that it would give them something. And I know what your next question is going to be. I don't know if and I think this is coming. I don't think there's a number out there that can keep a kid from skipping the playoff, a 12-team playoff, to preserve his body for the NFL. Because I think that's going to happen too. It's just going to happen with that many teams involved. Because, again, if that player is that good, he's going to sign a $60 million deal, first rounder. There's nothing you can pay him that's going to keep him in the playoffs.
Dennis, where does the Rose Bowl fit in the future?
I think they're in good shape now. I didn't before when the Big Ten signed its deal because I still don't know what's going to be left of the Pac-12.
Right.
And that question remains out there if there is a Pac-12. But I think everybody's confident. I think they do want the Rose Bowl to be part of the playoff, even if it doesn't have an anchor, the traditional anchors that it does. The Rose Bowl just wants to have a parade on January 1st. It wants to be played at January 1st, 5 p.m. Eastern time with the sun setting over the San Gabriels. And that's really all it wants. Does it prefer a Pac-12 Big Ten matchup? Yeah, but that's virtually impossible in a playoff because you're going to have to take what you get. Not only that, but the Rose Bowl would bow out in the quarterfinals. I think maybe the semifinals, but the best way to get them at least one Pac-12 or Big Ten team would to be slot that in the quarterfinals, because I feel confident saying this, the Rose Bowl is never going to be the site of a championship game again.
No, we brought that up earlier as one of the things that will be interesting to see. But it's beautiful, tradition, all that stuff. But it just seemed like if they're going to say this is the only time we're going to play, this is the only date we're going to play, then they're going to be left out. Now, to the money being distributed, the 80%, which is the Power 5, the 20% Group of 5, whatever the number might be, with the new additional money, will they go more with the distribution about like they do with the NCAA men's basketball tournament, and everybody gets like a marker for how many teams advance? How will they, you think, do that?
I think there'll be some of that, but it will be virtually not even a talking point. It won't even be noticeable because the Big Ten and the SEC aren't going to play for shares. You know what I mean? That's happening now in the playoffs. Every conference that has a team in the playoffs gets $6 million extra dollars. You can call that a share. But there'll be some sort of formula in a 12-team deal. But that's one of the most interesting things I want to see. When those commissioners get in that room and decide to split up that money, because there is no Power 5 in there. The top 5 conferences aren't going to get an equal share. Why should they? The Big 12 is a glorified American. The Americans a glorified Conference USA. Maybe the ACC is on a similar plane, but certainly not on the same level as the SEC and Big Ten. And I wrote that last Sunday. I just threw it out there that, let's say the SEC and Big Ten split 50%. And then you just go down the line and the ACC, Big 12, and Americans split 30%. And I'm just throwing out numbers. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it'll end up that way or not, but I think it'll be something like that. There won't be equal shares for these conferences. It'll be the top 2 getting most of the money.
Dennis Dodd, CBS Sports with us, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Dennis, was this a big sigh of relief to many administrators in college football that this can, at least for the time being, create a new goal in expanding the playoffs instead of the goal of expanding the conferences?
I don't know if it has any, I debate back and forth whether it's going to have any impact on conference realignment. I know that Kevin Warren from the Big Ten still wants those 4 or 2 from the Pac-12. It looks like now publicly Brett Yormark is saying he wants Pac-12 teams. So does any of this expansion have anything to do with that? At the end of the day, you're trying to get as many brands under your tent as possible that could play in the playoffs. There's going to be a lot of bursts there. 6 that large bursts out of 12. So, no, if I had to say it right now with a gun to my head, I think things are going to go full steam ahead with those desires. Not saying they'll happen because if Kevin Warren succeeds with his goal, is there a corresponding move to be made by the SEC? Can they just sit by and watch a 20-team Big Ten pull further and further away in revenue?
What did you think of Brett Yormark's quotes from earlier? I saw Justin Williams. I'm sure there were others. Yeah. Well, you did that. He kind of has a way of needling it, and he's obviously incredibly positive.
Well, you're starting to see what their strategy is. He was basically talking about Arizona. I am told that the advantage that the Big 12 has over the Pac-12, and that's been a talking point since this started. Well, what do they bring to the table? What do they, Number one, I think the Big 12 has 12 teams going forward. If you ask them to sign a grant of rights today, they would. Can't say that for the Pac-12. I was told today there's more football depth in terms of, what rights holders would price. Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, Baylor, what have you, there's more football depth, quote unquote, there than what's left of the Pac-12. And it's certainly deeper in basketball. That's becoming a real advantage for the Big 12. Now, only 20% of any of these media rights deals are basketball. But when you're looking to have a delineator there, that's a pretty big one. If you have Arizona, Kansas, Cincinnati, BYU with the second biggest arena in the country in college basketball, all under one roof. That's pretty special.
Dennis, thank you very much. You Craig, I know you got it.
Yeah, I know you got to go, Dennis. But
go ahead.
But why?
Go ahead.
Well,
no, go ahead.
Why now? Why? I mean, I understand the Big Ten got their TV deal done, but other than that, is there any reason why the timing is coinciding with the start of college football that is sort of overshadowing for some the games these first couple of weeks?
Expansion?
Just the playoff expansion and all that. Why now? Why was this not something that happens at another time?
That's a good question because we were told by the CFP in February it's absolutely dead till the term of the contract in 26. 12 years, nothing's going to happen. Logistically, nothing can happen. We can't possibly get hotel rooms ready in time.
Right.
Well, the commissioners fought amongst themselves over realignment. We saw that. I think there was a faction of presidents who just got tired of frustrated what the commissioners were doing and said, you know what, we're going to pass this thing on our own. Now that it's pretty obvious because of realignment, ACC, Big Ten, and especially Pac-12 are going to vote yes, that we'll just vote yes and let them figure out everything. So that's what happened. Yes, the money is the money. They want the money. But I do believe Mark Keenan, the chair of the CFP president of Mississippi State, they were getting concerned and tired that the West Coast had been left out. Much, that was their fault. The Pac-12 was being left out. But it was really becoming regional sports in the Southeast. The Northeast was disconnected. With 12 teams, I believe Bob Bowlesby, when this was first proposed last June, I think he made a great point. On November 1st in any given year, there's going to be 30 to 35 teams in contention. That's going to hold the interest of a lot of people.
Dennis, thank you, buddy. Appreciate your time. When I know you got a lot on your plate as well. Dennis Dodd, CBS Sports with a Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. We're going to discuss kind of